WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Amidst a bunch of Ali conversation here, it was the right punch on Tuesday night of Manny Machado landing pretty squarely on the jaw of Yordano Ventura that has set off tons of conversation in and around baseball, base brawl, Yordano Ventura, and Manny Machado. Rustin Dodd covers all things Royals for the Kansas City Star out in Kansas City, one of my favorite towns, and I was always a Yordano Ventura fan a couple of years ago, but I certainly have sort of taken a turn on that, much as many did on Ali. We welcome Rustin in. You can follow his journey at Rustin Dodd on Twitter. He was in the Royals, the losing clubhouse on Tuesday night, losers of the fight as well. Rustin, first off, welcome in. I guess this isn't the first time you've talked about Yordano Ventura and sort of the extracurricular activities, right?
No, I mean, he obviously had his issues last year, especially early in the year. He had 3 different incidents of various degrees. He sort of stared down Mike Trout in Los Angeles for a kind of bizarre kind of reason, and then there were 2 other incidents with the White Sox and the A's where there were bench clearing incidents, and in one of them he was standing up for a teammate who had been spiked on the base pass, but in the other incidents, it didn't really seem like there was a great reason for him to be so upset or blustery or whatever word you want to use. So yeah, he definitely has a track record of being involved in these kind of things on the field. Well,
I guess the headline is a lot of people were happy to see him get thumped, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of has a reputation in baseball, I think, as sort of petulant kind of young pitcher or something of that nature. And I think part of it, I mean, the Royals have obviously been successful over the last couple of years, and he's not been, maybe as great as some of the kind of the early hype that he had when he came up from the minor leagues and pitched well as a rookie, but he has pitched well in the postseason. He's pitched well on the biggest stage, and he's won, where his team has won the last 2 years in the American League. So I think maybe there's a little bit of that too.
All right, so at the heart of all of this, Yost has to come up and answer questions. And look, man, I've covered baseball for 32 years. I've been on the radio 25 years. I was in the locker room after the Messina-Hasselman brawl. I saw the Orioles just literally let Armando Benitez be a fool against the New York Yankees and get his ass kicked without even so much as coming to his defense. Where's the rest of the clubhouse in knowing that they're going to play the Orioles again, they're going to play all these teams again, and that, Hosmer's a pretty special guy. Kane's a pretty special guy. You don't want those guys getting thrown at either. And Machado, of all the guys to take on with the Orioles right now, to take on a guy that's debating $300 million contracts and MVP status, I got to think there's a lot of guys in Royal Blue over there that thinks this probably isn't the best way to get back to the World Series and win.
Yeah, well, I think we mentioned it earlier in the conversation, just the track record with Ventura. I think they would, give him a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt if they hadn't kind of been through this thing too. They went through the brawls last year and all the kind of the drama of the early season stuff. So I think they're just a little bit tired of it. I don't know, I think they're going to say all the right things, although Ned Yost did sort of concede last night that there was a little bit of frustration among the other players with some of Yordano's actions, but I think there's just sort of an exhaustion more than anything.
Well, and then there's the exhaustion with his ERA as well, right? I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, this would be a lot more acceptable if he were like Pedro Martinez and he's beating guys in a 2-1 game, right?
No, and I totally think so. And I mean, say what you want about Yordano, and let's say he had thrown 5 scoreless innings last night, and he did that to Machado. It would still be sort of a kind of a punk move, but at least he would be backing it up with his play on the field. That almost makes it worse because it almost just seems like he's kind of looking for a way out after not performing well. It's like if you're going to give up 5 runs in 4 1/3 innings, take it out on somebody else. Like you don't need to throw a 99-mile-an-hour fastball at a guy's ribs because you haven't been performing well. So yeah, I mean, if you had done that like it has like a 2.5 or 3 ERA and he had thrown 5 scoreless innings last night, it would still be, if you're Manny Machado, you could still be upset about it. But at least then it would look a little bit better.
Well, and at some point, thing's going to get adjudicated, and there's going to be a point where he's going to miss some time anyway. And I don't know that the Royals will miss him at this point in the 5+ ERA, right?
They won't, but they're struggling in all facets of their starting rotation right now, and they need arms and they need guys to fill innings. So it will have some sort of ramification. Although, his performance over the last month or two has not been great. Although the ERA is a little bit misleading. I don't know if misleading might not be the right word, but he's had half of his starts have been quality, and then half are just total blow-ups. So there's a little bit of that too. So, but I think they're going to be hurt a little bit if he has to miss a start or 2 or 3 or whatever it ends up being. But you're right. They can maybe find somebody else to go out and fill the gap for a couple of starts.
Rustin Dodd joining us here from the Kansas City Star. He covers the Royals. He was in the locker room after the brawl on Tuesday night. And, of course, Luke has all the Orioles stuff up in the Baya Toyota Audio Vault at WNST.net. If you want to check that out, feel free. For the Royals in general, and we've been up down this river, right, Rustin? I was out in Kansas City a year and a half ago for the ALCS when you were covering KU, Rock Chalk, and all that good stuff. And I know everybody out there is all whipped up. It's one of my favorite places to go watch baseball and eat barbecue and the legend of George Brett. I only have one baseball bobblehead in my office. It's George Brett. So, I have a little bit of that going on, but the Royals have struggled in so many ways, and the loss of Moustakas, and from the outside, I saw him as a little bit of the straw that stirs the drink. I know you'd make a case for Hosmer, as all the beat writers have told me he's really the leader there, but Morales being off and having to get 3 hits on Tuesday night just to get above Mendoza, there's been some real struggles there, not just with Ventura, who we saw, pretty obviously on Tuesday night struggling, but there have been some good stories. Duffy's been okay. By and large, they're in the race. Now, what they do with it and where the Indians and the White Sox and the Tigers go, it's going to be a hell of a summer for all 4 of those teams, I think.
Yeah. The Royals, their starting pitching has been kind of hit or miss, but that's kind of par for the course for them. It's been worse than it was last year, but they won the World Series last year with the 12th best ERA in the American League for a starting rotation. So they can kind of win. They're kind of built to win without a great starting rotation, but the offense with the injuries to Mike Moustakas, now it's Gordon. Gordon will be back in a month, maybe 3 weeks now. Moustakas out for the year. Their lineup is sort of built to be a deep lineup where not one guy is going to carry the load, but they're just going to kind of keep the line moving, as they say, and make a lot of contact and put a lot of balls in play. And so when you have kind of a little bit of holes here and there with Moustakas out and then Morales not producing, it kind of takes a lineup that's not, a great power lineup and turns it kind of even worse. And so they've kind of gone through 2 spells this year where they just can't score runs. There was one in early May, and now they're kind of going through another one on this road trip. So they're still 2 games over 500, and they could be in a lot worse position, I suppose, but they've been sort of a really big roller coaster because this is their second time they've lost at least 5 games in a row, and then they just came off a 6-game winning streak, so it's been sort of all over the place.
Rustin, for you with the Orioles and seeing them at this point, and first off, I'm surprised the brawl didn't get bigger, right? That no one else wanted to go at it, that these teams have a little bit of a history. I was astonished that they cleaned it up in the better part of 3 or 4 minutes, literally. But then you see the Orioles and the fan base is seeing these guys stick together and seeing the Buck Showalter their press conference. It really is stuff like this that brings teams together. The Orioles scuffled a little bit over the last month. They've had trouble with their starting pitching and some consistency there. And Lord knows they're going to hit the baseball. It's not going to be the only game where they hit 4 home runs as they did Tuesday night off the Royals.
Yeah, it's just seeing the lineup in person is impressive. It's obviously built for Camden Yards, but it feels like a lineup that could hit the ball out of a lot of ballparks. And it's deep, and it's probably one of the most potent lineups in the American League. Obviously, I'm not stating anything that people don't know. I guess there's questions in the starting rotation, but it will be interesting to see how well they can do. But I was talking to some Orioles people over the last couple of days, and obviously people remember that the 2014 ALCS, but I'm not sure Royals fans quite remember in their memory that the Orioles didn't have Machado or Chris Davis for that series. So I think there's, it'll be interesting to see what they can do if they stay healthy.
Well, and this is, they're done for the year, I guess, and, sort of the unbalanced schedule. We feel like we see so much of the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, and we're heading there next week as well. Thoughts for where the Royals are in this teetering mode, right? Like, they were teetering most of the year in 14. They were teetering, in the game where they had the comeback that led them to Game 7 to lose to the Giants and then spur them to win last year. They were a bit of a juggernaut last year, but so many things went right for them. The rest of the division looks like it's on the come, and I know you witnessed the Indians bludgeoning of them over the weekend. The Indians are certainly the team with the gold star this month, but the White Sox look to be that part in April and then bring on James Shield. And the Tigers haven't gone away, and we all know they're willing to spend money, right?
Yeah, it's been kind of a strange division in that every team has been hot and cold. The White Sox were hot in April, then they kind of went into a funk. The Indians didn't start out very well, but then they've been kind of charging over the last couple of weeks, and the Royals were hot in early April, then they went cold, then they got hot again, now they're cold again. I mean, part of that's baseball, obviously, but I think if you're the Royals, you just hope that nobody takes control of this thing for the next month or two, and you can kind of hang around and go into the All-Star break within striking distance of the division lead, get healthy, find some starting pitching, whether that's just getting guys to be, your internal options to be better, or, look to see what's out there in the trade market. They don't have a lot to trade with the guys they dealt last year to get Johnny Cueto and Ben Zobrist, but they're still a deep team. They still really have a lot of talent, 1 through 25 on the roster. It's just a matter of, finding ways to win and finding some offense.
So, I don't think anybody's going to win 95 games in that division, right? I mean, you say run away. It doesn't look like anybody's going to run away, but it looks a little bit like Cleveland might be the best team.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly might have the best combination of offense and offense and pitching. The Royals might have if you add in defense and bullpen and those factors, they might be close. But right now, their rotation is really kind of sinking them in terms of that question. Yeah, I don't know. I think 90 wins could win the AL Central, and I think there's a chance that if teams don't play to their true level of talent, that maybe even something like 87 or 88 wins could win the division.
Rustin Dodd covers all things Kansas City Royals for the KC Star and was at the scene of the brawl on Tuesday night. Hey, man, happy trails to you. Good luck the rest of the summer. I think it's going to be a great summer for baseball. I mean, one of the things here in Baltimore, 15 years of being in last place and stinking, it has been fun the last couple of years to be relevant, and I know the people of Kansas City suffered even longer. Even when things aren't so good, you're still above 500, very much in the race. The problems are a lot different in 16 than they were 10 years ago for these franchises, right?
No, totally. I remember, even going back to 2014, I just remember when the Royals and Orioles were in the ALCS, it just felt like such a kind of a breath of fresh air. And same with last year when the Royals played the Blue Jays. It was sort of nice to just not have the Yankees and Red Sox and be factors in the postseason the last couple of years. I'm sure people in Baltimore kind of agree.
Well, we'll have no problem with the Yankees this year. I've seen them play. Hey, Rustin,
cool.
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. We'll send everybody out to visit you out on Twitter as well as at the Kansas City Star.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Rustin Dodd of the Kansas City Star joining us here. Rustin Dodd, that's Rustindod. That's a great name, man. That sounds like a movie star name, Rustin Dodd. Covers the Royals for the Kansas City Star. His first appearance here on WNST. Great of him to drop by. Lots of Ali stuff out in the Bio Toyota Audio Vault. Everyone from Phil Jackman and Frank DeFord and Ross Greenberg and Peter King. And I've gone everywhere we can go this week to talk about the champ and the greatest, as well as a little bit of hockey, a little bit of basketball as well. If you've been out on our Twitter, you know we have been alive with our OTA stuff with the Ravens this week, as well as the Orioles headed off to Toronto this weekend. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.